All right. Hello, everybody. This is Tom Albano, and I'm here to welcome you all to the UFC 251 post fight show. I'm going to come on here for about 20 minutes, like our normal empty the bench segments. And yeah, just going to talk about things all about UFC 251, recapping all the big stuff that happened, all the headlines, and all. So let's just get right off the bat. First of all, I am so sorry for being about 45 minutes late, 50 minutes late than originally planned. Masvidal and Usman did not walk to the ring until like 1 o'clock ish, and the pay per view just wrapped up about 15 minutes ago. So, very late notice here. And for those of you who uh, normally tune into UFCs, you know, and for those of you who don't know, UFCs tend to not run this long. Usually, it's only big events that go to 2 a.m. Usually 2 a.m. Eastern, rather. It usually ends at 1 a.m. Eastern. Say Eastern because I'm here on the East Coast. Uh, but other than that, let's just get right into everything. First of all, Kamaru Usman has successfully retained the welterweight championship in the main event of the evening, defeating Jorge Masvidal via unanimous decision. The scores were 50 to 45, 50 to 45, and 49-46. Uh, Sorry about that one, guys. 1 second here. Let me just get this up. Big apologies again. Running a little late, so running around with like a chicken with its head cut off. Massive night, long night. But yeah, Usman retains, defeating Jorge Masvidal. I read off the scores, and I mean, first of all, I have to give credit to George Masvidal. Took the fight on about 6 days' notice. Technically, it was 8 or 7, but he had to go through all the COVID testing. So officially, it was 6 days' notice. He was training, but no specific training camp. And it was just. Let me just go round by round. So, first round, Usman scores takedowns right off the bat, but Masvidal, shoves him off and wails on Usman, but Usman takes it on the chin. We go to the next round, and from there, I have to give again Masvidal credit. He took everything. He successfully defended takedowns, but Kamaru Usman was the one in control throughout that whole fight. From the grappling department, the takedowns that he did score were strong takedowns. I know people had problems with the stopping of the feet, but that's not illegal in MMA. And you know what? This goes back to what I said on my fan-sided MMA preview and predictions about this event. I told everybody Usman can win this fight if he sticks to what he knows and he wrestles and focuses on a grappling and doesn't try to box with Masvidal. Because yes, Usman's boxing has improved. We saw a little bit of it tonight, not too much of it. Usman and Colby Covington. Yeah, Usman did score a fifth round finish in his last outing, UFC 245, against Colby Covington, and he did stand and trade with Covington, but both of them were wrestlers and both of them had a high grudge. And Usman and Masvidal had a high grudge too. But I said if he chose to if he chose to box and he chose to try to outstrike and trade with Masvidal, he was probably going to get knocked out. His best bet was going to be to stick with the wrestling and either overwhelm Masvidal to a TKO or grind it out to a decision. And look what we got here. But those scorecards, by the way, the 250 to 45s, that's very questionable. And we saw a couple of questionable things with the judging in Abu Dhabi today. But there's no doubt about it. Kamaru Usman successfully retained, and it was a bit of a letdown. I know everybody was hoping Masvidal. Well, I shouldn't say everybody, but most people in the MMA community were hoping for Masvidal to pull off this big late notice victory and cause massive celebration, but didn't happen. And now the question is, where does everybody go from here? Well, first of all, for Kamaru Usman, he has Gilbert Burns, his teammate, who he was originally scheduled to defend. Well, technically, Masvidal was originally supposed to be the challenger, but that was never made official. Masvidal had the public outing with the UFC, all the crying out about the fighter pay and everything, all the fight for fighter pay, well, fair fighter pay. Him, John Jones, a couple others, and so the UFC decided to officially book Usman versus Burns after Burns ran through Tyron Woodley back in late May. But that fight never ended up happening because earlier this month, Burns tested positive for coronavirus, forcing him off the card. So Usman versus Burns. Like I said, Burns is a teammate of Usman's. If there's somebody who knows Usman best, it's Burns. Burns might be the best shot. And Masvidal, I mean, it depends. Do you guys still think Masvidal is as big a star? I mean, if his popularity is still, good on everything, and if the UFC, well, first of all, the question is, does the UFC pay him what he wants? Remember the guest we had a few weeks back, James Lynch? Him and I agreed that Masvidal was not going to get back in the octagon until fans were back, but proved us all wrong here. So if the UFC decides to pay Masvidal what he wants, I mean, do you do Masvidal versus Colby Covington, the two former teammates who have a bitter grudge for one another? Do you run Masvidal and Nate Diaz back? Does Nate Diaz even want to be fighting? Because again, the Diaz brothers are another one of those people who they take what they want. They don't give a crap about Dana or the UFC, business, and they only want what they want. Do you somehow try to do Conor versus Masvidal? That's a big fight, but it depends. How do people still see Masvidal? Like, is his popularity going to take a hit? Is it only going to take a minor hit? Is it still going to be the same? And what is the UFC going to do in terms of paying Masvidal? Are we going to have another public battle between Masvidal and the UFC? And is Masvidal, by the way, going to stay with the fight for fighter pay along with John Jones, Sean O'Malley? Well, Sean O'Malley's booked for UFC. He's not exactly sitting out. The retirement of Henry Cejudo, Conor McGregor's retirement. But let's take a look at the rest of the card. Alexander Volkanovski successfully retaining the UFC featherweight championship, defeating Max Holloway again. This time not as one-sided as it was at UFC 245. And many people in the MMA community thought that Max Holloway won the fight. I am one of those that, listen, I'm probably going to get killed for this statement, but a close fight does not equal a robbery. Holloway, I will give the first 2 rounds to. He knocked Volkanovski down twice. Volkanovski was coming at him with the leg kicks, but Holloway looked improved. He looked like he had a new strategy. Like I said, he knocked Volkanovski down. The third round was kind of it was a close round. I hate to say it to everybody. I know a lot of people were putting Max, as winning the first 3 rounds, Volkanovski winning the last 2. But Volkanovski, his turning things up did not happen in the 4th round. It happened in the 3rd. He and Holloway traded with one another. He and Holloway went at it. It was, honestly, if that was the swing round, I can't be mad at the judges for that. That was one that could have gone either way. And ultimately, I had it for Volkanovski. I had the fight for Volkanovski. I scored it 48-47 Volkanovski. But if it was 48-47 Holloway, I would not have been mad. Not only because I like Max Holloway, but because, quite frankly, it was that close of a fight and that close of a round, specifically that 3rd round. And Holloway still had strong showings in the 4th round and the 5th round, despite Volkanovski outstriking him. Remember, those judges, you see the little UFC graphics on the pay-per-view where it has all the different strike totals, all the head strikes, total strikes, significant strikes overall. The judges do not have those in front of them. What you see on your TV screen does not equate to what the judges see over there. Now, like I said, there was quite a bit of a controversy with the judges throughout this card. I'll read some off to you. We have, of course, this split decision with Volkanovski and Holloway, the 250 to 45s for Usman and Masvidal. Like I said, I had a 49-46. I thought Masvidal won that first round. The split decision between Namajunas and Andrade, which we'll get to in a second. I scored it for Namajunas, 29-28. How about this one? In the prelims, Muslim Selikov defeating Zaleski dos Santos. We had one fighter each. Each fighter got a 29-28, and then Muslim Selikov got a 30-27. Like, really? I won't go as far as to say this reminded me of the Texas Athletic Commission judges from UFC 247 in February, but man, there was some questionable judging on this night. And there was also one really, really bad job by a referee. That brings us to the bantamweight title fight. Petr Yan, defeating Jose Aldo to become the new UFC bantamweight champion. The UFC bantamweight title, of course, was held up in abeyance after Henry Cejudo's retirement after UFC 249 in May. And Aldo looked a lot better than I thought he was going to look. But I mean, Yan just had pretty much control of that fight. But the big story coming from that is not Yan staying undefeated in the UFC. It's not Yan becoming the new UFC bantamweight champion. No, it was the actions of referee Leon Roberts. So Yan rocks Aldo, and Aldo's like turtled up on the ground, and Yan is wailing down shots on Aldo. And the referee is saying, fight back, fight back, fight back. And Aldo sort of fights back. I mean, this is not fighting back like he was doing, but he was trying to turn around. He was trying to break through, but every direction he tried to move, Yan was right there waiting. Hit him in the cheek. A couple of shots hit the back of the head, which may have been caused by Aldo's moving around, which that means technically it's not Jan's fault, but he does get warnings for that. But, forehead, here, and at one point you see blood just spewing out on the canvas, on the mat, and referee Leon Roberts is just waiting. Mercifully, he called it with about 90 seconds left in the fight, but that went on like 2 minutes too long. That was terrible. Aldo took way too much damage, more damage than was necessary. That was bad, really bad refereeing by Leon Roberts in that. Yan, congratulations to him. Big victory. What happens now with Alexander Volkanovski? Going back to this for a second. I mean, and actually what happens with Max Holloway? I mean, do you do the trilogy fight anyways because of the controversy of that second fight? I don't know for certain. I don't know what Dana White is saying at the post-fight press conference right now. I'm not watching that at the moment. But, I mean, it depends. The featherweight division is very deep. I mean, this Wednesday night's card is being headlined by Calvin Kattar and Dan Ige, two, and I agree with them when they both say this, overlooked featherweight contenders. But you also got the Korean Zombie, Chan Sung Jung. You got Brian Ortega, even though Brian Ortega hasn't fought since losing to Max Holloway in December of 2018. You got Zabit. So there's a stacked division there, especially in that top 10. So I guess that just depends for each fighter what the UFC wants to do. Do they want to give Volkanovski the winner of a potential fight between Chan Sung Jung and Brian Ortega? What's going to happen with Calvin Kattar and Dan Ige? Could one of those two, the winner of that fight fight Max Holloway? Petr Yan, I'm really hoping that we get what should have been this fight, Yan versus Aljamain Sterling. And what happens with Aldo? I don't know. This is 3 straight losses. And can we please stop with giving UFC fighters title shots off losses? I know Dana White thought he beat Marlon Moraes in December at 245, but come on. First Yoel Romero and now this. Like, it's utterly ridiculous. And that just needs to stop. Let's take a look at the rest of the card now for the last few minutes here. Rose Namajunas, Jessica Andrade. I don't know if this won Fight of the Night honors. I'm trying to look that up right now, but it definitely was my pick for Fight of the Night. Two put on a great showing. It was probably the best Fight of the Night so far. And yes, I can confirm Andrade and Namajunas definitely won Fight of the Night, courtesy of Ariel Helwani, giving us the bonuses right now. Jessica Andrade, Rose Namajunas, Fight of the Night, performances of the night go to 2 guys who impressed on the prelims, Davey Grant and Jiri Prochazka, which I will get to in just a second. But Rose Namajunas, I was worried with how would she look, how would she handle the power of Andrade after being away since losing the fight to Andrade, the first fight at 237. And again, if you remember 237, Namajunas put a beating on Andrade in that first round. It was like a 10-8 until and she was doing good in the second round until Andrade slammed her on her head and knocked her out. And now that she has this win, yeah, she was troubled by the power. Her nose was busted. She had a nasty gash, black and blue gash, right here under her eye. And she was, I believe, taken to a local medical facility. I don't think she's going to be on the post-fight press conference. However, it was a strong enough performance. Her striking was accurate. It was perfect. She was catching Andrade. And I won't go as far as to say, like I said, I scored a 29-28 Namajunas. I don't know if I would have given it a split, the split decision. Like if Andrade won, would I have thought that was a robbery? Perhaps. But it was still a fantastic fight. And Namajunas, I honestly think she does deserve a title shot. I think she deserves a shot against Weili Zhang if she so wants it. And I believe Weili Zhang does want Rose Namajunas. So if Namajunas is good for it, and UFC is good for it, I say you book that fight. Andrade, this is now 2 fights in a row she's lost. She'll definitely need a bounce back sort of fight. What do you do? We don't have an update on Tatiana Suarez. Joanna Jędrzejczyk lost her fight with Zhang. Her fight of the year, by the way, was Zhang back in March at UFC 248. And now she posted on Instagram today a photo, and it had the hashtag 33 and retired. So we don't even know what's going on with Joanna Jędrzejczyk. We don't even know. I believe that's up on our FanSided site, by the way, fansided.com/MMA. That we don't even know what's going on with Joanna Jędrzejczyk. So looking at this the rankings here, like I said, Tatiana Suarez, I don't know if she's recovered from her injuries. I don't know what her plans are in this pandemic. Nina Ansaroff, I believe she's pregnant, so she ain't going to be fighting for some time. Do you do Jessica Andrade and Claudia Gadelha? Does Tatiana come back soon and you do Jessica Andrade versus Tatiana Suarez? That'd be an excellent fight. Amanda Ribas defeating Paige VanZant. First round armbar submission. Absolute domination by Amanda Ribas. And I love her attitude. Her post after the fight, she was laughing and everything. She is from what I know from the people I'm connected with in the MMA media, she is an absolute joy to be around. So Amanda Ribas just improving her stock. I know she normally competes at strawweight. Yeah, strawweight, she's number 14. But this was an impressive win at flyweight. I don't know if she's going to stick to flyweight. I believe she is going to stick to strawweight. So what do you do next for her? You have Angela Hill. That'd be an interesting fight, an excellent fight. Amanda Ribas, I think she could be ranked higher than Alexa Grasso and Tisha Torres. I think Angela Hill can be higher than those two as well. Do you give So do you give Amanda Ribas Torres Grasso, Hill? Do you give her somebody just barely in the top 10, like a Michelle Waterson or Yang Jianyan, Arena Rodriguez? I mean, we'll have to see. And Paige VanZant, this was the last fight on her contract with the UFC. And it seems like, based on her comments, that she makes more money modeling than she does with the UFC, that this is probably going to be the end. And let's call it for what it is. This was the UFC trying to devalue Paige VanZant. But you know what? Paige VanZant's still young. She can be a great fighter. She's got looks. I think she's going to be a success, outside of the UFC. I don't know if she'll necessarily win a championship, but I think she can has a decent career, and she'll still have the money from the modeling and all the stuff she does outside of MMA. And because her husband's in Bellator, I think it wouldn't be too surprising if you saw her move to Bellator, join their women's flyweight division. And one last thing here before I go, some notable action from the prelims. Jiri Prochazka versus Volkan Oezdemir. If you follow me on Fansided, I told you guys this was one of the fights to watch out for. I said Andrade and Namajunas 2 was one, and this was the other, the one that headlined the prelim portion of the card. Prochazka, I mean, you got to see him, talking to Oezdemir despite eating shots and dropping his arms. I was getting a little worried because, Oezdemir is dangerous. He can knock somebody out. He has some great power. But Jiri showed just how much power he has. Landed a left, and then boom, drop into Oezdemir out cold with a right hand. Oezdemir was out for like a good minute or so. And Oezdemir, number seven contender, and Prochazka, of course, the former Ryzen light heavyweight champion. Excellent, strong debut from Jiri Prochazka, and I honestly would be okay with giving him somebody in the top 5 and trying to hotshot him. I know I'm critical of sometimes when the UFC does that. I mean, Paige VanZant's an excellent example of somebody they tried to strap a rocket to more quicker than she should have been. But Prochazka actually Oezdemir too. He won his first 3 fights in the UFC in devastating fashion, but then lost via second round stoppage to Daniel Cormier at UFC 220. So I may have to be careful with that, but I got a feeling Prochazka might be a different animal than what we're expecting. Also, got to give credit here to Makwan Amirkhani, Mr. Finland himself, pulling off a nice first round submission off Danny Henry, catch him in an anaconda choke, and staying with him as Henry tried to fight his way out of it. Henry ended up passing out in the hold. So nice win there from Makwan Amirkhani, and he hadn't competed since losing to Shane Burgos last year at the Garden. Big rebound win for Makwan. Credit to him. Marcin Tybura versus Max Grisham was the other fight I said to keep your eye on, and that was a bad fight. I apologize for that. But Davey Grant, awesome knockout of Martin Day. Like I said, Prochazka and Grant got the performance bonuses. Good job there. And overall, I mean, UFC 251 had some great moments. It's the first fight card on Fight Island, but like I put a poll up on the Fansided MMA page just a little while ago. I was asking, okay, what do you think? Thumbs up, thumbs middle, thumbs down, and let's take a look at the results right here before I leave. All right, so as of 2:39 a.m. Eastern Time, 11:39 p.m. on the West Coast, 50% of Fansided's audience gave it a thumbs middle. Thumbs up was a 28.6. Thumbs down was a 21.4. And I would say somewhere between, in my opinion, thumbs middle and thumbs down. This was kind of an overhyped card, and it didn't deliver. The controversy with Volkanovski and Holloway, though I thought Volkanovski won. The late stoppage of Jan and Aldo, Masvidal not putting in a good enough performance. A lot of decisions, a lot of clear-cut decisions in addition to that one controversial one between Volkanovski and Holloway. Overall, just did not impress. Now, there are going to be a couple of cards during the week, actually 2 cards next week on Fight Island. One headlined by Calvin Kattar and Dan Ige, and the other one supposedly headlined by Davison Figueiredo and Joseph Benavidez, but Figueiredo tested positive for coronavirus yesterday, and he's going to take another test to see if it was a false positive, but that fight's all up in the air, and that's a rematch of a controversial fight from February. Man, you think Fight Island's being hyped up a little too much, guys? I don't know. But that's going to do it for me. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Tom Albano here. See you next time. I will be with you guys next week on Empty the Bench on our new Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time slot. Till then, peace out.